Oh shit, here we go again.
Man, I really wish we got this scene, but of course it had to be interrupted by Oliver's whining. Nolan was about to give a eulogy for Conquest, I think, or at least, maybe a little monologue or something. But I really wish we got it because Conquest, and I think everybody can agree on that, was an interesting villain, and I would have loved to get a little bit of insight as to why Conquest has turned out the way he's turned out, or how he was before that. Would have been more interesting than just having this. Okay, so am I the only one who hates scenes like this? I mean, the show literally goes from street level to mountain level to planetary level and then back to street level, and somehow they still expect you to stay involved. I mean, I just can't take it seriously when some random bug can crawl out of a mountain on a random planet and be a threat to Nolan. Like, seriously, I think these scenes might be the cure for insomnia. Like, just watch Invincible filler fight scenes and you will sleep in no time. That's how boring they are. I love the excuses that people make for fight scenes like this, saying that, oh, Nolan was weakened because he hasn't eaten, or, I don't know, the bug is stronger than it looks, or we have no reason to believe that it's weak, or Nolan is holding back. Like, that's always like these go-to excuses instead of just accepting that the show is full of inconsistencies. Keep in mind that Oliver is watching all of this, right? He doesn't help Nolan, but he doesn't protest either, so I'm guessing he's okay with it. Then please explain to me why he later protests that Nolan is trying to kill a bug. Man, I'm so over these fight scenes, and the season is just full of them, especially the second half. I just can't watch them. Like, in season 2, Alan was just completely toying with Anissa, and they just nerfed him into the ground, not being able to do anything against Lucan and this other unnamed guy. Just skip it, man. Man, I love this scene for the comedic value that it has, like, not even on purpose, but it's just so funny to me, right? Alan just has a little bit of blood on his mouth, and somehow he's defeated, right? Both Viltrumites just stand there looking at Zoe approach them instead of killing and ending Alan. He's a serious threat to Viltrumites, right? They all just stand there and do nothing. Alan doesn't use the distraction to escape. He just stands there completely defeated, even though like 99% of his body is still able to move. He's just being held by his throat, right? Space Racer also doesn't shoot again to kill Lucan because I guess he's still important to the story, but the other guy wasn't. That's what I meant in my last video when I said that Viltrumites only die when the plot doesn't need them anymore. That's, I guess, what happened to that guy.
What is it? Is he alright?
Mark isn't healing properly.
Why not?
All that liquid we've been giving him doesn't have enough protein.
Man, I love that they pile onto the lore with nonsense like this, because it just convolutes everything, right? What did they feed Conquest in that desert bunker? Did they just feed him steaks every day? It's just, when his head was looking like mashed potatoes and he was in a coma, there's no way that he could chew, eat, or swallow anything without choking, right? So Mark should have been dead here. There's no excuse for this. Yes, of course we get another filler fight scene because one isn't enough. We get another one where they're 2v1 against one of these bugs that we've seen Nolan beat already, and somehow they're still struggling. Make it make sense. We're just wondering what the bug before did that Oliver just stood by and watched it die while he's standing up to Nolan with this one saying that he shouldn't kill it because it's just trying to protect the eggs.
Okay. Time to end this.
No! She was just protecting her eggs.
You know, and I just wish we had more consistency. I'm not talking about the power scaling, like the dialogue and the writing is just as bad. You'll have characters literally switch up their motivations willy-nilly. Like, Oliver's okay with letting one bug die, then he's okay with beating up the next bug, but that bug he doesn't want to kill for some reason, and then afterwards they come up with the plan of just luring them away. Like, just have consistency, please.
Oliver, that thing's an animal.
Maybe she's smart.
We need those eggs.
She can't lay more if we kill her.
You're right.
Absolutely insane character development. I don't know how they're going to peak this. It's already like the greatest show of all time.
If someone makes a mistake but works to make it better, they forgive and move on immediately. They showed me there might be a way back, if I tried hard enough.
You know what's funny to me? He's describing the human concept of redeeming yourself or making amends, and how in his 20 years on Earth has he never encountered that? I'm just wondering. Before, people have estimated his age to be in like the 2000s or 3000s, like a middle-aged Viltrumite from his appearance alone, but now the show retconned him to be 900 years old. But keep in mind that even with the low ball of 900 years of living and ideology, how easily do you think you would break away from that? They're essentially supposed to be space Nazis, and when we look at real-life Nazis, a lot of the remnants, like the older generations that are all dead by now or are slowly dying out, I don't know if there are any left, but the few that were left on the Nazi side, they never changed their opinions from what they have learned. So how am I supposed to believe that someone who's living that ideology for 2,000, 3,000 years is going to change their mind this easily just because someone told them that, hey, you can be better than that? And I guess you could say that Nolan is the one in a million, the one that changes, that switches sides, right? But every single Viltrumite that steps foot on Earth just changes immediately within like a few weeks or months or a year max. But what is this? Like they just forget thousands of years of ideology for 1 year on Earth? Like, you can't make this shit up. And what was actually the point of making Viltrumites as old as they are? Because it never really contributes anything to the story. It's a detriment to the story. In fact, it makes everything about Viltrumites less believable. Like, you mean to tell me that you're thousands of years old and you never bothered to learn how to fight? You're thousands of years old and you never even question your ideology once? Like, amongst the billions of Viltrumites that have lived for thousands of years, the multiple generations, Thedas was the only one with the brain to question their beliefs? Are you serious? I mean, seriously, they're thousands of years old and they never bothered to come up with the martial arts designed to kill Viltrumites somehow? Just strikes to the equilibrium or something like that that disorients them? They just have the palm strike and that's it. Did they just think, yep, that's enough, we don't need anything else? And apparently they don't, because that shit can pierce everything and anyone. It's just sad to see that, you know, fight scenes could be more interesting, but they all boil down to who can punch harder, who can hit harder, who can take more hits, and, you know, who has the better plot armor in the end, really. And it doesn't help that everyone in this Viltrumite war essentially has the skill set of a Viltrumite. Like, everyone is super strong, super fast, super durable, and doesn't know any moves besides kicks and punches. How is that interesting to watch on this large of a scale, right? I mean, in Season 1, when it was Nolan versus Mark, essentially, both of them had the same skill set, but it was more about the desperation of Mark knowing he's outmatched but still standing up to his dad. Now you just have two sides who are equally strong and are just punching each other until they win. We definitely lost a lot of the tension that the show once had.
And I know that fixing that, if I even can, will take time.
Which means it won't take any time and we will just immediately forgive Nolan for all of the things that he did because now he feels sorry for himself. Like, this is just great character development. Story does that a lot, where a character is just feeling sad and suddenly you're supposed to root for them because you see how sad they are and you don't want them to feel sad. Even though they're complete dicks, you're supposed to root for them. And I'm just so tired of this. Like, instead of actually developing your character and finding a logical conclusion to their storyline, you do this, like, just a complete 180. This isn't character development, this is a character assassination. It's insane when you think about it, how quickly Oliver forgave him. It's just been months, right? And Nolan just said sorry. I didn't mean what I said, sorry. And then they just end up as a happy family. Like, there are just some things that you can't make up for, and Nolan did multiple of those. So, yeah, kind of insane. As much as I like to complain about the series, this shot right here might just be peak. If you want to call anything peak, call this shot here peak.
Grand Regent, we are in a unique and precarious situation.
How?
Two primary reasons.
The first reason being that you're sitting on your ass doing nothing while we're getting our asses kicked out there. We're losing planet after planet, and you with your super-powered Viltrumite airbending powers, you're just sitting here and doing nothing, watching the map. Like, do you not want to win this war? Seriously, what is going on? At this point, I believe that Thrak could just easily take out the entire main cast and not even break a sweat. He could just wrap this war up in 5 minutes flat and just be done with it, right? And then continue conquering the universe. But he doesn't, and now he's complaining about how he's losing the war? What? They made him ridiculously powerful, and now they have to just sideline him for the entire duration of the war, just so the coalition of planets even stands a chance. If there was a medal for incompetence, his uniform would look like this by the end of the season. I'm not even kidding.
Regent, Telescria is too well defended.
Is it?
Man, first time watching this, I was excited. I don't know why I was, but I was. Top Dog is finally joining this fight, and, you know, he would just demolish everyone. Or at least that would be an interesting fight to watch. But what do we get? He just spectates from close up now, then packs up and leaves. That's it. And now I'm left wondering, why does the show spend so much time on build-up that leads nowhere? Then of course Mark wakes up and we get this scene.
You killed Conquest?
No, you did.
Either that fight gave him amnesia, or he didn't even think he could do it himself, so again, my point from last video, what the fuck was his plan? Then we get the surprise attack on Telescria, which everyone just survives, even Alan's girlfriend who doesn't have superpowers, okay. Then she walks through the streets and you would think that this planet who didn't prepare for this attack didn't have time to evacuate anyone, and yet we see like 3 dead people and that's it. Even while this entire nonsense continues, the streets are just empty, completely void of any civilians. And that's part of the reason I think the show looks dead, is because they put zero effort into the scenes they set these fights in. Then Mark and Oliver just take out the entire ship, and I'm just thinking to myself, what's the point of having these warships if your Viltrumites can do more damage than the ships? Then Thrak ends up in this position, and I just lost every bit of respect that I had left for him, and then he just leaves. Then we get this scene of everybody just grouping up and lifting this entire warship. Have the showrunners lost their minds? We went from season 2, you know, Mark bench pressing 400 tons, which I guess is a good number for Viltrumites, you know, makes them strong but not unbeatable, to this. I think someone on Reddit did the calculations, and it's just insane. Like, at this point I believe that they have put zero effort and zero thought into the powers that they display on screen. Like, we went from season 2, Mark benching 400 tons and being told that he's on par with Anissa and could probably beat her, to this. This is the span of like, what, a year? He just went from 400 tons to trillions of tons. Like, do they even know how big of a number this is? This is insane. Keep in mind how small everyone is in comparison to the warship, and they're just pushing up. They can't get a grip on it, they're just pushing it up. And for some reason they don't tilt it and it keeps falling. No, they just completely send it flying back into space. How that's possible, I don't know, but I didn't like this scene.
Minor setback? Do you know how many people we lost today?
I don't know, but by the looks of it I would guess like 3 or 4. It was really not that big of a battle. It was more like a skirmish or a scuffle. A tussle, if you will, quarrel maybe a little scrap. A ruckus, I don't know, but it wasn't just that devastating as the show makes it out to be. Also pretty rich coming from the guy who was literally having the time of his life fighting Viltrumites on his home planet just like 5 minutes ago. 4 seasons in, and we have background characters getting fake out death scenes as well. I'm not kidding when I say that this guy's getting revived literally 10 seconds later. I think the showrunners realized how stupid it was that they killed him off, because they need the exposition that he can give them, otherwise our main cast is just stranded on Telestria without a direction. So naturally they revive him and he says,
Thrag's returning to Viltrum. He's going to regroup there. Plan another attack.
which is quite convenient because if this wasn't the case, the plot would just stop dead in its tracks. And while I'm watching the show, I'm simultaneously reading opinions online, and the general consensus is that the show is just perfect. Just flat out perfect. And I'm wondering, are we even watching the same show? Because what about this screams fresh and engaging? 4 seasons of fake out deaths is somehow still engaging for you? Everyone and their mama just having plot armor is high stakes. Rag sitting out the entire war is delivering on expectations. Let's be honest, everybody's just coping online because the show isn't as good as they thought it would be. The only characters who left the story one way or another are characters literally no one cares about. I mean, who do we have? We have the immortal Duplicate, Shrinking Ray, the Mauler twins, maybe Rexplode was still a fan favorite, but all of them just feel like plot devices. They served a purpose and now they're being sidelined. At this point the show became so predictable, and you just know that they don't have the balls to pull a Game of Thrones at Stark. They just kill off side characters no one cares about. Why should I be worried when I see Nolan getting impaled later on in the season? He's not going to die from this. It's not his time yet. Like, quite literally, the show has other stuff planned for him, so it's not his time to die. Remember in season 1, when Nolan grabbed Cecil in complete darkness in his living room? He heard him when he literally made no sound audible to the audience, then grabbed him by his throat in complete darkness. Just incredible vision, precision, and hearing. And now Viltrumites just can't seem to do anything right. I mean, seriously, these two have an aerial view, and they see none of these exchanges. I hate how there's not even consistency when it comes to Viltrumites. Like, they will go from completely useless to being completely overpowered, depending on the scene, and depending on what the plot needs of them. Man, I remember in season 1, when I was thinking to myself, man, how are they going to beat an army full of Nolans, right? Like, there's a whole empire full of those guys. How are they going to win this? And I think that the showrunners realized that there isn't a logical conclusion to this other than death of our main characters. And yeah, so they had to nerf Viltrumites into the ground. Like, these guys are just cardboard cutouts at this point. And I just want some level of consistency, right? How do Viltrumites go from like having the durability of wet paper bags to being planet busters? Like, please just make it make sense, have 10% more consistency. Then we get some more backstory of the Viltrumites. This was like 900 years ago. And Thetis is somehow the only Viltrumite ever in the history of Viltrumites that has the opinion of, hey, maybe we shouldn't be such dicks. But what's even more insane is that from this scene alone you can tell that Regent Thrag is poisoning Argal with this talk of, you know, strength and whatnot, but somehow Thetis doesn't realize this. Like, people call Thetis the smartest Viltrumite out there, but he's too stupid to realize that his plan of killing Argal is going to result in the guy poisoning him with the talk of strength, picking up the mantle of Emperor because he's regent, and by that, next in line to the throne because Argal has no heirs that are known, right? So what the fuck was Thetis' plan? Why not kill Thrag? You know, I'm wondering why there even is a council of Viltrumites if we only ever hear like 3 people talking. Like, there's Thetis, there's Krieg, and Thrag. And of course Argyle himself, so 4 people. Why is there a whole council? Like, most of them just sit around twiddling their thumbs. I mean, he was hailed as the wisest of emperors, and I just had really high expectations, like him being really reasonable and listening to different propositions being made on this council. But I was just let down completely again by the show, like, come on. Like, seriously, everyone on this council might as well just be a cardboard cutout. So Viltrumites clearly have some level of administration in their empire, right? How is it even a mystery who Argyle's heirs are? Because there aren't that many generations in between where I would say, okay, yeah, you lose track of that shit at some point, right? But it's just been 3 generations. Like, you have Argyle, Nolan's dad, Nolan, and then Mark. Like, there's just 3 generations in between. How do you lose track of that? And clearly Viltrumites are capable of intrigue, you know? Before I would have said, okay, yeah, they're just, you know, too honorable, or they value strength too much, they want to kill opponents in fair battle. But in the coming battle royale between Viltrumites, we see that they don't give a shit about fair fights, right? They will happily backstab you. So why doesn't Thrag just kill Nolan and Nolan's dad if he knows those are Argyle's heirs, and all he has to do to consolidate his power is to get rid of them? He doesn't even have to kill them themselves, just have someone else do it, right? So why doesn't he? And I'm telling you what, it's because the plot can happen. Because if Argyle dies and then Thrag kills Nolan and Nolan's dad, that's it, the story is over, it never happens. And I just hate how often this happens now, like the writers writing themselves into a corner, and the only way to get out is for every character in that scene or in that specific situation acting like a complete idiot just so the plot can progress. Like, at least pretend that there's some depth to your writing, right? Don't make it obvious that it's plot convenience every single time. Okay, so Argyle is being assassinated by Thetis with a knife made out of a bone. I'm just wondering why he isn't using the metal that Thula's dagger is made out of, because we see her, she's in this time period, she has her knife in her braid, and it's made of metal. So why is Thetis just using an animal bone, or a Viltrumite bone, which is even more weird? Why are you crafting bones out of your own people? And also Thetis just doesn't hear him or turn around or even put up a fight, he just dies instantly. Like, he doesn't hear him jump from the ceiling or anything. Come on, man. The wisest of Viltrumites doesn't have any bodyguards in his room. Alright. I mean, at least he surely had bodyguards stationed in front of his door, so not just anyone could walk in, right? So Thetis just walks in with a knife in his hand, or maybe hidden up his ass, I don't know, right? But he never leaves the room. Wouldn't anyone check and just maybe search the room? You know, get the feeling like a plot is brewing, you know? Thetis just walks in willy-nilly and no one bothers to even check on anything? Okay. And apparently Argyle was the most beloved of Viltrumite emperors, but clearly no one gives a shit about his safety. Ah yes, Argyle. He died as he lived, like an idiot. Ragnar holds a speech until he suddenly turns to this guy and accuses him of being the next traitor. The guy says he isn't going to turn into a traitor. Thrag says, I don't believe you, and then he just decapitates him. Mind you, that man was sitting on Argyle's council for God knows how long, right? So he's clearly trustworthy, and the first thing Thrag does is kill him? What? Everybody just watches it and is okay with that? Like, this is your new emperor, he just kills the Viltrumites willy-nilly, just based on accusations? Run. Ragnar becomes emperor and his first order of business is just completely insane. I mean, he goes on for a bit how he's in power now, blah blah blah, but then he says,
seek out the weakness that allowed this betrayal.
And everybody just instantly knew what to do, which is just start this giant royal rumble, which I guess the entire planet joined in. He didn't even give them any specifics, he just said, seek out the weakness. It could have been just spying on people, I guess, reporting criminal activity or suspicious activity. But everybody just knew that, I guess this means a giant royal rumble is going to start now, in which we're allowed to kill each other. I mean, okay. And I mean, I didn't care the first time when the Scourge virus hit Viltrum. Why should I care now? Like, the music tries so hard to make you care, but I just don't care for this planet full of idiots. If anything, the scene brings up the question, how did Viltrum even reach this age of technology if that's how they behave? Like, imagine going to a funeral and paying your respects to your emperor, and suddenly that funeral turns into a giant bar fight. Thrag then dips out again. He doesn't join the fight, he doesn't do anything to contribute to rooting out the traitors. He just sits on his throne and tries to regain some cool points that he lost last episode. But don't worry, I haven't forgotten, this is you. Then he flies out and orders the rest of the Viltrumites to stop fighting because it's over.
It is done.
And luckily for Thrag, Conquest stands down, because in the time that he was getting his nails done, everybody was fighting for their lives, and now Thrag wouldn't want to get his hands dirty fighting Conquest. And I guess you could say that everything is beneath him at this point. He just got crowned Emperor, and you know, he's the strongest Viltrumite and he knows it. But even in the present day, he still sits out every single fight. Why? You're fighting for the survival of your race. I mean, I get that this battle royale is beneath you, but the present day timeline, where you're literally fighting for your own survival, you still sit out every single fight? Come on. So then the group prepares to face the Viltrumites on Viltrum, and Thetis holds a little speech.
Alone, Thrag could defeat any one of us. And we may not all return.
Now let me translate it for you. By don't face Thrag by yourself, he means go ahead guys, face Thrag by yourself, nothing will happen to you because you guys belong to the main cast. And by we may not all return, he means I won't return because I don't matter to this story anymore, it's my time to die. Well, literally all of you will survive this battle. Then we get this, shocker, right? Mark having self-doubts. He records a message for Eve and then deletes it while having said basically nothing about his thoughts or inner conflict that he's facing going into the battle with Thrag. The show just teases you again by dangling a carrot in front of your face and then hitting you over the head with a Hennessy bottle. At this point I believe that the writers are just completely incapable of writing the emotions of characters. I don't really know why Oliver would think that Thetis is weak. He saw him fight on Telescria and beat up Viltrumites. I mean, okay. But not only that, he saw him lift that giant-ass warship out of the sky together with him, so he clearly has no reason to believe that Thetis is any weaker than he is. Then we get told a second time by a different character about how this is going to go down.
Listen to me. However strong you think you are, Thrag is stronger. Don't let him draw you away from the group.
Alright, the game plan is set, everybody knows it, let's just establish these rules here so we remember them for later. And of course, it starts with rule number 1, don't get too confident. Thrag is stronger than he looks and he's definitely stronger than you. We move on to rule number 2, which is don't get separated from the group. If Thrag catches you by yourself, you're dead. You don't want to get caught by this guy. Getting caught by this guy is even worse than getting caught by this guy. So stick with the group. And last but not least, teamwork makes the dream work. We're in this together, we beat him as a group. Don't try to be the hero, you'll only die trying. Okay, so the group makes their way to Viltrum, and then Nolan says this.
This was the most fitting tomb we could think of.
I mean, what? This is the most fitting tomb you could think of? Are you serious? Instead of just punching a hole and doing a mass grave on your planet where they can actually decompose and rest easy, you just toss them into space? Come on, man. But the insanity doesn't end there, because Thetis then says,
They will help conceal our approach.
which means those floating bodies will do absolutely nothing for us, because for some reason the Viltrumites knew we were coming and set up an ambush, and look at that, we were found instantly. Okay, so for how long has Thrag and the gang been waiting there? They can't breathe in space, so did they just have to periodically go back down to Viltrum, catch their breath, and then come up again just in case this group would show up? I mean, they show you that they dealt with the mole, right? So how did the Viltrumites even get the information that they were coming? I mean, the trip from Telescria to Viltrum takes how long? And they were just waiting here? Are you serious?
They knew we were coming.
Yeah, no shit. The question isn't if they knew, the question is how they knew. Anyway, so this nonsense battle starts, and forget all the rules about fighting as a team and sticking together, because everyone just gets into a little one-on-one and that's it. So then Thetis, with his stated goal of wanting to kill all remaining Viltrumites, headbutts Thula and then throws her away. Are you serious? That was your chance to kill her, buddy. But remember the rules. We get don't fight Thrag by yourself, so what does Nolan do? He flies at Thrag by himself as his first action of this battle, and then gets saved by Anissa and engages in a fight with her. What is this fight? And I kid you not, for a second I even forgot that Tech Jacket is in this battle. I don't know how she survives, for a second even. But I guess we have to have her contribute in some way, so together with Alan she kills this nameless Viltrumite guy. And mind you, she was aiming at Thrag, so naturally she just turns around and leaves without shooting another dart at Thrag. Then Mark and Oliver team up on Lucan, and there just isn't any tension in this fight because we just saw Mark physically overpower Conquest, with Conquest being unable to break his grip. Yeah, there's just zero tension in this fight. Come on, just pack Lucan up and move on to the next. What's even worse is that Thetis is somehow struggling against Krieg, and Krieg survives this encounter with Thetis even though Thetis breaks his arm this easily. Are you serious? And he just stands there and does nothing? And it just keeps getting better because Nolan is struggling against Anissa, even though we've been told that the start of Season 3 Mark could probably keep up with her, and he gets caught like this. She only does the damage that Oliver did to him during their training on this planet. You can't tell me that he couldn't pack her up in 5 seconds flat. And I'm not even complaining about the animation here, just the choreography, because everything will just feel like it's a turn-based battle. Characters will stand around, do absolutely nothing, while it's the other guy's turn to strike. They'll just wait for their move to come, and then it's their turn again, so they attack, and it's just a back and forth, with no logic involved or anything. No one tries to counter, parry, or, I don't know, dodge, right? This is basically just Rock'em Sock'em Robots Viltrumite Edition. And just when you think the show just couldn't get any worse, it just gets worse, because Space Racer shows up with Ragnar's in tow, and I have so many questions for this. Now, first of all, they were all alive on their planet, they weren't frozen anymore, right? How did he get 8 of them? Nolan and Alan together were unable to get even one, to subdue a single Ragnar. They were completely overpowered, right? And somehow Space Racer's able to get 8, tie them to his motorcycle, and then transport them through space. And while we're on the topic of space, space is pretty cold, and these things have been shown to freeze under cold temperatures. So how are they moving now? Okay, let's just overlook this fact, right? Let's just say they can move in cold temperatures now. Why are they still a danger? They can't fly. Viltrumites would just have to dodge left or right and watch these things plummet down to Viltrum and die. That's literally all they have to do to win. Why are they just engaging them? They're flying straight at them and fighting them. They've been told, or rather we've been told, that these things are savage, like every Viltrumite is afraid of them, and you just fly at them head on? Like what? But it gets even better because in the span of 10 seconds, these things go from completely dismembering a Viltrumite to getting completely wrecked by a Viltrumite to then dismembering that Viltrumite that just killed one of them. Like, great fight choreography and power scaling here. And I guess that with the one Viltrumite woman you can say that she was weakened by the bug juice, but these things still demolished Nolan and Alan on their home planet, and this one woman that was able to completely demolish one of them. So please just tell me what power level these things actually have. Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they supposed to be a threat to anyone? Or are they just there for gore factor? So then Nolan does again what he did before, and he told the others not to do, which is rush Thrag. Why does everyone look so bored, like they don't want to be here? I mean, this is Nolan's face fighting for the survival of the universe, and this is him fighting his son for no reason. Can you see the difference? I mean, why? Just have some emotion. Then Nolan gets caught by this monster of a punch, and he survives this, mind you, before Oliver could make him bleed with his weak-ass punch, and now he survives this. Are you kidding me? Not only does he survive this, but there's not a scratch on him. Seriously, not a bruise, not a nosebleed, not even a broken rib, nothing. He just gets up out of this crater and looks slightly bothered, you know? We also get this frame, which I just thought was funny. I mean, first of all, this dialogue scene is just plain stupid. How it begins is just insane. Nolan tried to rush Thrag, tried to kill him, right? Thrag countered, punched him down to the ground, and then Nolan is like, yeah, okay, let's talk. What? And also it's just so full of hypocrisy, like from both sides. You have Nolan pretending that he cares for his family, and you have Thrag pretending that he's not a genocidal maniac. I mean, just look at this.
You know we only ever did what was necessary to preserve order.
Like coming after my sons.
You mean the sons that are currently fighting for their lives while you're down here talking to the enemy that you're here to kill? Okay. I mean, it's clear that they're not seeing eye to eye on this, right? So what does Nolan do? He follows him inside, of course. Then we get this scene, and this scene is hilarious for all the wrong reasons. We get 3 Viltrumites ganging up on Space Racer. Like, come on. They grab his motorcycle, they come rushing in, break his helmet, and then watch the guy suffocate for like 5 seconds, doing absolutely nothing. Keep punching him like he's vulnerable now, right? You want to get rid of him. They know the damage that his weapon can do, and they just do nothing to stop him or take him out of this fight permanently. The 3 Viltrumites, of course, do absolutely nothing in the meantime. It's a turn-based game, don't you know? And Alan and Zoe come in and save him. Zoe just instantly repairs his mask. I don't know what that was. It was probably canned convenience or something. But his eyes didn't get sucked out by the vacuum of space. He didn't freeze to death. He didn't do, like, nothing happened to the guy, right? He's just completely unharmed because the plot still need him for the finale. Then we get more dialogue between these two, and I can't tell you what happened in this scene. I skipped through it. But we get this insane display of power, and the first thing I was wondering when I saw this first time, how are they going to beat this guy? Like, that was just a punch, and it didn't even seem like he was going out 100%. Then we get character number 2, who just immediately forgets rules to fighting Thrag and live to tell about it. Like, I briefed everybody on it, no one can tell that they didn't get the PDF. He just faces Thrag by himself, and it just backfires instantly, like Oliver should have been dead here. Thrag even says it himself, "You're not one of us," which means he just sees Oliver as a bug. So maybe do a little more than just rip his arm off, because, you know, the plot armor is thick with this one. Rip his head off, rip his heart out, do anything, right? This would have been a good scene to kill off Oliver in a logical way, but, you know, we need him for later. That still didn't stop the writers from doing Oliver like this. Then of course Marky Mark gets a little angry and he flies directly to help Oliver, which separates him from the group again, I guess character number 3 who forgot rules to fighting Thrag. But he says this.
I killed Conquest! I'll kill you too!
Why is this such a surprise to everybody? I mean, where did they think Conquest went? This scene, first time watching this, I was getting bored, like actually getting bored. This is the finale of the episode, and I almost fell asleep. Mind you, this entire sequence is going on for like 6 or 7 minutes in real time, and basically nothing happens. It just cuts back and forth between, you know, them flying through the planet's core and the surface of the planet just crumbling. They should have just kept it short and gotten to the point of them flying through the planet and exploding. I guess in the comics it's like 3 panels, and somehow they drag 3 panels out to be 7 minutes of video time. Like, what? And I guess meanwhile this guy is just spectating as usual. Like, he could have stopped all of this, but he just didn't. So then Thrag cries because they weren't playing fair, and he goes after Thetis and just rips his head off. And this just shows that he could have ended this entire fight in like 5 seconds. they all were too slow to react to him and he just sits out the entire fight, watches his home planet get destroyed. All of this could have been avoided, like I'm saying. Medals of incompetence, man. Also, who the hell is that guy? That is not Mark. Alright, good effort by Thrag, good effort by Thrag. Alright, that's one down, there's 2 more to go, they destroyed your homeworld, go, get him boy, there he goes.
I offered you forgiveness. I offered you an honorable death.
Then we get fake out that scene number 2, number 3, and everybody's okay again literally 2 minutes later. And after this brain-dead finale, the show even has the audacity to ask this question.
Thrag had me. I thought you were dead. Why do you let us live?
And like I said, everyone survives but Thetis, and all of the people look downtrodden even though no one gave a shit about Thetis and we knew nothing about him as a character other than he killed Argal, that he released the Scourge virus, and that he wants to beat the Viltrumites. That's essentially it. Then they discuss where the Viltrumites could have went, and Mark comes to the conclusion that
they've gone to Earth.
Okay, that's all good and well, but how are they going to Earth? Which way is Earth? When you look at space, everything is just black. Where do you even start looking? Do they know the direction? How do they know the direction? They have never been there. I mean, Anissa has been, but I doubt she remembered the way. Especially when you're in the middle of nowhere space, right? Like, it's not that there are any way signs on the road, you know? How are they going to reach Earth? That's the bigger issue. Before they had a ship that was destroyed. Their planet has been destroyed. Their forces are scattered. They're just by themselves, floating through space. And somehow they find Earth. Okay. How long will that even take them? Because they have to fuel up on oxygen on some planet, right? And I doubt they have all the planets remembered that have oxygen on them, so are they just sending a Viltrumite down, telling them to, you know, try to breathe down there, and if they die, they die, and they continue to the next planet? What if their oxygen runs out? What if some guy coughs and then inhales and he just chokes in the middle of space? At this point, the logistics of their travels are more interesting to me than the actual plot of the series. Man, the show just loves wasting your time. This is a 2-minute sequence, and while I have to admit it's kind of cool, it's just completely pointless because it's just Mark daydreaming. And I hate how you can tell immediately that none of this is happening for real. Especially after the last battle, the stakes are just at an all-time low, with the only casualties being Thetis and a few unnamed Viltrumites, and literally everyone else surviving this. And I refuse to believe that there's even a single person out there who thought that this was real. After a million fake-outs, people have lost faith. You can only go to a well that many times before it dries out, and the Invincible shock value well is officially dried out. Then we get a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, followed by more of this. Then they arrive on Earth, and they think that the Viltrumites aren't here, or at least they don't appear to be here, which we later find out they are indeed here. Somehow they were able to navigate space faster and find Earth in the middle of nowhere space quicker than these guys did with a ship meant for space travel and probably space charts. Then we get our mandatory daydreaming gore sequence number 2. Then we get Mark and Eve reuniting. This is just brain dead, like just listen to the dialogue in this.
Eve?
Mark!
Eve.
I thought it was so long. I thought...
Hey, don't you know I'm...
And they could tell me that they're adapting the comics 1-to-1, but it wouldn't hurt to add anything of value. And it's insane how irresponsible both of them are. I mean, we've been told before that they used protection and somehow Eve still got pregnant, so now, of course, the first thing that they do when Mark returns is they just fuck again, I guess, okay. And especially Eve, you would think that after freaking out about not having her powers work anymore, she would do anything in her power to avoid being in a situation like this again. But I guess she's thinking to herself, hey, you can always fuck a board and then do it all over again. Are these the heroes that we're supposed to root for? And it's just such a character assassination, right? Just for hero characters in general, to have them fight for every life, to think that every life is worth saving, and then just have this stance on abortion. Are you serious? Then we get our mandatory daydreaming gore sequence number 3. We continue with mandatory daydreaming gore sequence number 4. Then we get this scene.
I had an abortion.
Sorry I did this to you. I should have been here.
Just what the fuck is this scene? Mark was fighting for the entire universe in this war, but he says he should have been here coddling Eve through pregnancy. Like what? He's not some deadbeat dad who left his child behind. He fought for everyone on Earth and for the entire galaxy, but okay. Yes, but let's just forget the plot and use this scene to push our own political beliefs and own agendas. Then we get hit with season 1 nostalgia, and it's so funny to me how the show has to resort to that. They're in season 4. I don't know how many seasons they have planned, but resorting to nostalgia in your 4th season? Come on, man. This scene also highlights how stupid of a character development this was for Nolan. Seriously, he went from season 1 maniac to now somehow melancholic dad. Come on.
Why did you make me do this?
But what's even better is that we get this.
We won the war.
They still show the highlights of that game sometimes.
Wait, you don't mean
The giddy up, ride 'em cowboy dunk. Yeah. That was me.
Ugh, that's the worst thing ever.
Point is, we won.
That's what you call winning? A nigga's nuts in your face? Man, I hate to see what you call losing.
Hey, I took a charge for the team. We won!
Nah, but it ain't look like you won.
Well, that is not what winning is about.
Well, to you, winning is about a nigga's nuts in your face, so I'm saying.
Be here! Oh, God.
You remember back in the day when superhero stories were always about control, responsibility, seeing the bigger picture even? And then you have Invincible, who's just a whiny baby who wants to stay home with his girlfriend instead of saving the universe. What a great hero, everybody. I mean, the guy's 20 years old, and that's him. Whose favorite hero is this?
I can't do this to you. It's not fair.
Someone needs to tell him that having superpowers isn't about just being the coolest guy in town. It comes with a bunch of responsibilities attached to it. Like when the world is being threatened, your private life doesn't matter anymore. When billions of lives are at stake, Eve doesn't matter anymore, Mark. And that's what I liked in season 1 about him when he stood up to Nolan. He was like, fuck Viltrum, this is my home, and he will protect it even if that means he dies, right? That was a hero character. Why did they ruin him like that? And those clear positions of good and evil, right? Mark fighting for a righteous cause in season 1, protecting Earth, protecting people he doesn't know, right? Against Nolan, who was clearly evil back then. That's what made the finale so special, and especially the beatdown sad to watch, because you knew from the beginning Mark doesn't stand a chance, but he will still do everything to protect this planet that he doesn't know a lot about. But now you just have Mark be this complete self-serving asshole that will have the weirdest reasoning. Like, I don't want to save the universe, I want to be with you, Eve. Like, what? And people will call this character development. Again, I'm calling this character assassination. It's okay if he questions his morals, like if killing is right or wrong. I get that part. But protecting the entire planet, he somehow questions that. Like, not only does he live here, but also does Eve live here, right? His family lives here. His friends live here. He's willing to let all of them die because he doesn't feel like fighting this war? Are you serious? Also remember this scene for the finale of this episode. It's going to be important, trust me.
And kill so many people, and there's nothing I could do about it.
And what's better than 4 mandatory daydreaming gore sequences? That's right, it's 5. And then Mark meets Thrag while flying around just to clear his head. And that's how it goes. Thrag hasn't done anything to him, which he should be happy about, right? But he just attacks him on sight. He knows he can't beat Thrag. He knows that Thrag could have killed him and he didn't. And the first thing he does when he meets him again is try to kill Thrag. What's going on in his head? Just a second ago he was worried about the planet's safety, and now he's risking it by provoking Thrag.
What do you want?
Now why didn't he start with asking that question instead of pointlessly attacking Thrag? Also, what purpose does Mark even serve? Why is Thrag keeping him alive? He doesn't need him. Mark could die and it literally would not change Thrag's plan.
Let me explain your future to you.
No. Never.
And I would really like to know what Mark's plan is here, because saying no will surely result in a fight, and he knows that. So why is he saying no? He knows that Thrag is basically unbeatable, at least by himself, and he sees the outcome of defying Thrag and the Viltrumites. But up until this moment, he just doesn't change his mind. The memory of Eve is somehow more important than billions of lives. Are you serious?
My answer is... yes.
And I'm glad that he got there eventually, but looking at the budget and the time left in this episode, I didn't think for a second that there was a fight about to happen. So that concludes Season 4 of Invincible. The final episode was pretty uneventful with a lot of fake out deaths again with these daydream sequences. And I guess the only thing that died for real is Mark and Eve's unborn child. And I mean, do you need any more signs that the show is creatively bankrupt? I mean, you can tell me that they're sticking to the source material, and I will tell you that if that's the case, the source material is just as bad. And Season 4 to me wasn't even the bottom of a barrel, it was more like the bottom of a dumpster. And I can't fathom how the show is rated as highly as it is, because other than a few scenes sprinkled in here and there that are actually good or look cool, 99% of the runtime is just trash TV, yet it's somehow hailed as this next genre-defining thing. And I think most of it just goes by popular belief. You know, a lot of people say it's good, so more and more people start believing that it's actually good, instead of watching the show for themselves and forming an opinion on it. And that's part of the reason why I want to rewatch shows every now and again, because if a show isn't good the second time you watch it, it wasn't good the first time either. I mean, two of my favorite shows of all time are The Boondocks and Avatar: The Last Airbender, so yeah, Invincible being hailed as one of the greatest shows of all time, naturally people will compare it to the greatest shows of all time, and Invincible just comes up short. Especially when you look at the budget number attached to Invincible, which is like $2 million per episode or something. It's insane, because this sets an expectation. If you have $2 million available to you per episode, and the animation looks like shit, the writing is trash, there's no consistency whatsoever, where is all of that money going? I, for one, am just glad to have finished this series. I never thought that I would make 2 YouTube videos on this, and the first one got like 400 views now. I don't think I'm going to spend any more of my time and energy on Invincible. I think I'm pretty much over this series at this point.